Is it okay to get started, my dear?
And we are live.
Yeah.
So, welcome, ladies. Thank you for coming out to Empower Hour today. You are in for a treat with Miss Terri Lynn, choosers, doers, and winners. I will now give Miss Terri Lynn the floor. Welcome and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I thank you, Dress for Success, you in particular, Bridget, for the vote of confidence and for the love shown, and of course, Dress for Success. Just huge hugs, and to all the ladies and the familiar faces, so much love. It's great to see you. Thanks for taking time in your day, making space for not just me, but for the services of Dress for Success, which is enlarging each and every one of our territories. Well, the title again is Choosers, Doers, and Winners. And I just wanted to have a fun conversation, an interactive conversation in a few minutes with regard to what's on our plate, what we're going through, and how to get where we say we want to be. I'm talking about equipping ourselves with excellence. You're already excellent in what? If something is what? Dead, it's not growing. If you're not thinking about other things, it's not. So we communicate excuses as well as definitely empower our expectations. So if you have, well, I won't get to that. In a moment, I'm going to ask you if you have it present. If not, but if not, just take notes. But there's something I want to make really apparent to you. And we may or may not be able to get it all done this time, but I can ask Mr. for another time if necessary. So the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to screen share. So give me just a moment. Uh-oh. So Bridget, can you guys
Yes,
see this?
No, not me, but I'm on a little phone. I don't have a.
I see it now.
Okay.
Oh, oh, I see it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So again, the topic is choosers, doers, and winners. And my question to each and every one of you listening is, which one are you? So I can no longer see you guys. So I'm just going to keep going along. You know, this picture, I took this a few years ago. And if you guys can see this picture, it is a lily pad, a full-blown lily pad. And lilies became my favorite when I understood that they grow through muck. Stuff happens, and they still grow, and they're still absolutely beautiful. So just imagine all the things that you're going through here in 2020. And as a result of it, guess what? As each and every one of you came on the line, so absolutely tremendously beautiful inside and out. And even though the stuff that's happening, we're still standing. And so I wanted to also share with you guys that I'm not diminishing what we're going through right now in 2020 in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but I want to remind you and offer hope and offer just introspection that we've been through some really tough times in our nation and on the globe. This here diagram shows things that have killed millions of people as we're going through, right now with the COVID situation. But we've been through, or our nations and our countries and our continents have been through a number of things, including, the Black Death, including the Italian plague. Some of you probably have heard of yellow fever, the Hong Kong flu. I remember that one kind of, sort of. Uh, the AIDS was an epidemic at one point, swine flu, the Ebola, and of course we're now to the COVID. And it wasn't always, a health kind of a challenge for us. It was also the economics. We've been up and down. Now this particular graph doesn't show how far back I intended to show. Like my parents, like in I think it's the 30s, 40s, they had a depression, and of course there were other hiccups along the way, and different wars created different situations for our continent. And then here we are, you know, ups and downs, up and down. But guess what? Devil tried to give you a black eye and you're still standing. I'm excited about that. And I hope that you see that what's going on now, you know, as I said a little bit ago, you know, God is in control and we shall rise above this as well. But what do you do in the meantime? There's still approximately 48 days left in 2020. And then I heard someone say just a little bit ago, come on, 2021. Well, that's a real true feeling and vibe all across the globe. So let's do this. Let's talk about who the choosers are. You guys see the picture of the four birds?
Well, I have a little bit of a problem, Gigi. I only see the one that says, I'm not seeing the different doodads, you know, the different boxes, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now you're on the cell phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't know, my technological skills don't work
Oh,
for
that's okay.
all of that, but I'll describe it to you. So on this particular one, we're talking about the choosers. So be present to the choosers. Anybody see, well, those of you who can see the four birds, everyone else can see the four birds? Because I can no longer see your faces. I'm not sure what I need to do to make that happen, but um,
Terry,
I'm
it's on
unable to
the
see.
main screen. That's what I see.
you see the main screen?
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to share your presentation, you have to go in presentation mode and then share screen, and then it'll let you go from slide to slide.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go back. Tell me. I'm gonna hit stop share. Now I can see you guys. I apologize for learning Zoom online, okay? I apologize. Okay, so I need to go back to presentation. I thought I had it in presentation. So I haven't hit the share screen yet. So I have my presentation, and at the bottom right-hand corner, is that the presentation?
Like in the upper boxes, that will be, bless you, Nanai. Where is it at? Slideshow, and then from beginning. So you start presenting it, choose that, it'll go into a big full screen, and then start sharing. And then we'll be able to see you guide us through the presentation.
Yeah, I didn't get to hit share screen, and it was, maybe I did hit it. I don't know. I don't remember. So, okay, I'm going back to the top. And it's asking me to resume slideshow. Just a second. I apologize, ladies. And even if not, then I can just talk. I don't like to be a talking head, but I just really wanted to show, you know, what's going on here. So I'm back to the top of the thingy, and then at the top of the screen, I see slideshow. My mouse isn't cooperating.
And Terry Lynn, if you want, you can send it to me and I can be your clicker. I can
Okay.
bring it up on my end as well.
Okay. All right. I tell you what, since we have this little small glitch, I'll do it a little bit out of order so that we don't waste people's time and you guys can actually be doing something. So while I'm getting ready to send this over to Lady Bridget, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor and just breathe. Just take a, I mean, seriously, just take a really big inhale through your mouth. Does it let me send it while it's open, or do I need to close it?
No, you should be able to email the document to me
Okay.
and I'll pop it up.
So just inhale and then exhale. Just take some deep breaths for me, at least 3 or 4 times, and hopefully I'll have this emailed by then. Inhale, exhale, blow it all out. Now, the next thing I want you to do, if this is possible, if you're driving, anybody on there that's driving, I really can't see you right this second, but please don't do this if you're driving. But I need you to empty your mind. Any sort of clutter that's in your mind right now, I need you to empty it. Here's Bridget. Okay. And attachments. And then if you have a paper and pen that's beside you, do me a favor and begin to write down everything that's on your mind right now. As much as you can, whatever's, if it popped in your head and it was a jelly belly, write it down. If it's, oh, I forgot about XYZ, as long as it's not too personal, go ahead and write it down. Okay. Anybody got down more than 10 things?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. So let me just say this. If you don't have more than 10 things and your mind is a little bit stuck, just keep doodling or keep moving that pen until you come up with at least 10 things. I'm still trying to send it to you, sweetie. I apologize. Let me try one more thing. Hit cancel because it gave me an error message. And I know we hit save. I'm gonna try again, my dear. Okay. I don't know if you can hear that, but I keep getting an error message. That's why I was wondering if it won't do it because I have it open. Well, let me just go ahead and just talk through it. I apologize.
Are you able to send it to Bridget?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But if you hear that little ding,
Mhm.
it's. Let me see if I close it completely. I still have it open, but I'm going to close it and see if that will let it go because it keeps giving me an error message
Okay.
with that little sound. Okay. So close it, and now I'm going to see if I can send it to her. Attachment. So those of you who've been writing it down, you've anything that's on your mind, you wrote it down. Now I have an honesty question to ask. Is that absolutely everything that's on your mind? And if there's anything else that popped in, go ahead and write it down too, please. Okay, so page. I keep clicking this PC. Okay, it is PowerPoint. Hi, Paul. I learned a new lesson. let's just continue without it. Unfortunately, I keep getting a error message. And
we
because
could,
go ahead.
I was going to say, maybe when we're done here, if you were able to send it over, I could send it out to everyone
Oh, well, you
following
know what?
the
Yeah,
workshop.
it's not, we could do that. You're right. We could do that. I'm going to see if I can reopen it. Oh, it called a recovery. Um, uh, we can do that. It's not as it's not as a file. Here it is. Well, it finds it in the computer for some reason. When I try to send it, it gives me grief. I'm gonna try one more time, and then we're gonna let go. So, who has more than 10 10 thoughts that were still in their brain?
Okay.
I do.
Okay. How many did you have, if it's okay to ask?
I had 11.
11?
I
So
had
good.
about 13.
Okay. Okay. Anything else come to your mind right now? And if not, the next question I have to ask. The next question I have to ask is, are any of the 13 or, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever your numbers are any of them, could you put circles around those that are similar in any way, whether it's family, whether it's money? If you'll put circles around those and let me know, well, I'll ask another question in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and try to send this again.
I had 20.
You had 20?
Oh, wow.
Okay. SPC. SPC. And I'm going to get CH. I'm going to have to talk with someone to help me. I'm not sure. I've never had this happen before. It's a simple attachment, but it doesn't find it when I go to get it. But I can see it on the screen, so I'm not sure what's going on, ladies. I apologize publicly to you as well as the other, the virtual watchers today. I apologize. I'm being humbled, but it's okay. These things happen.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so I'm just gonna mull along. So the exercise, I'm doing a little out of order, so I want to follow up with what's going on with that. So I'm gonna get you guys back on my screen. Perfect. All right, ladies. Thanks for your patience, and I humbly apologize for the snafus. I'll be thinking about that until 2 a.m. So I guess I give myself permission right this second to forgive myself for not being able to do what it is that I had in my head. Someone told me once, you guys may have heard this before, when you tell God your plans and watch him laugh, you have it all together,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Yes.
something happens.
Oh,
So this is going a little different than I envisioned, but no worries at all. So we'll go back to the exercise, and then I'll go back to some of the other content that I had for us, because we're at almost to half the hour. So the ones that you guys grouped together, is anyone comfortable with sharing what was still in their mind after they decluttered their mind? Just a few things from your list.
I was able to put it into like 3 categories: personal care and growth, school and college prep, and wish list.
Wish list, you love it, yay!
Things
That's
like Christmas prep, decluttering my closet, building a budget, looking up first-time home buyers. Like that's wish list stuff that I can get
okay.
to. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask another question, only if you're comfortable answering that question. You wrote all those things down. What did you have to not write down? And you don't have to tell if it's too personal, but what did you not have to write down to get those things once you did the exercise to breathe and declutter your mind? What did you get rid of? Do you recall?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So we did an exercise where I had you
Yeah,
breathe for a second,
right.
exhale, and then declutter your mind, get all the junk out of your brain. And then I
Okay.
asked you to write down what's still left in your brain. So sometimes things pop into your head and you wrote all those things down. So everything that you wrote down on that paper is just what was in your head. Or did you have to tell the not to, did you have to not write something down? Did something jump in there that you didn't want to, to be in there? Excellent, excellent cooperators. So with the things that you did write down, and I love that you were, Miss Jasmine, were able to group those already. What I want you to look at, because we're going somewhere with it, is the things that you inspected in terms of yourself that you thought about and that jumped into your brain after you declutterized it. I want you to see if there's a pattern or if there's any sort of stronghold or anything that was repeating in that. And what I heard from Jasmine was she was able to group them into things that she wants to accomplish. Does anyone else have anything to add to what they observed in terms of what's actually on your list? Being totally honest with yourself, you can share if you want.
Oh, mine was very proactive. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, very proactive things like I'm in the trying to get my life in order, these practical things, going to dress to finally get some pants that fit me, uh, dealing with I lost my job because, of COVID, and then the other part was relationships, like proactively I'm meeting with a counselor at 2 o'clock to discuss some things, and it was all action oriented. It was no All of this was, and then also yeah, making healthy food, happy for my brother becoming a brother, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done, is to say I love you enough to let you go. So it was all proactive things.
Excellent, excellent. Now I want you to do one more thing for me, and you guys can expand this later in your own time if you'd like. I'm just honoring the time that we have right now. So the next thing I want you to do is at the top of a blank sheet of paper, on one side, write control, and on the other side, write not controllable.
Oh, okay.
After you do that,
Okay.
add anything that comes to mind right now to your list that should be on that list that you don't think is on that list.
Oh, okay.
Permission to add, permission to, so you decluttered. And sometimes you know how to make your list, your things to do, and you're like, oh, I forgot, or oh, I forgot, If there's something that's on that list that you see that should be there that's not there, go ahead and add that to the list. And like I said, I want you to make the 2 columns and then enter on the columns the ones you can control and the ones you can't control. So you get to do that real quick. One of the easy ways for me to do this is I could put an asterisk beside all the ones that I can control, then I put them in the control column, and the ones I can't control, or they end up, it's kind of like by default going to the other column.
Would there ever be a time where maybe you feel a little bit of both, like you can control it, but it's a little not controllable?
Are you okay giving an example?
Um, like maybe with your family, like I feel like to some degree you can control your family, but parts of it are somewhat out of your hands. If
Right.
that makes sense.
And what I would do with that is, because that's general, what specifically did you want to have happen? What's on your mind? What specifically is on your mind about the family? Is it spending more time with the family? That's really the goal, not just family. It's more, this is what I want to have happen. I gotta get rid of one of these pillows, guys. Let's see here. Okay. So did that help, Miss Bridget? Did that help?
It did. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So next, what we're going to do, right now where you are is you have 2 columns. And in those 2 columns, the one column you have things that you can control. And does anyone have anything in the column that they cannot control? You have some things in there? There, you got everything under control? That's good news. That's good.
Only
Well,
did.
I lost my job. And I have a new friend that I'm trying to deal with some reactions to losing that friendship in some forms. And so some of it was not in control, it's like my
Right.
brother became a religious brother, so loss of job and new friends' reaction to me, that kind of thing.
Things you can't control. Exactly. Because who can we control, or what can we control? Exactly. Only ourselves. Miss Deborah got it right. We can only control ourselves. So what I want you to do next is, if you have time and if you're able to, depending on how long your list is, the control side, this is just a quick one. You could change your mind later, and it's okay. This is not etched in stone. But if you could prioritize what you can control.
Oh.
You see, sometimes in terms of prioritizing, I'm guilty of the same thing. We take care of what's urgent and in crisis. And sometimes that can put us in a stress situation constantly. One of my goals for 2020, and I'm still working on it, is to not always be in a rush and to embrace calm. So when I feel like, even people tell me, sit back, relax. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am relaxed. But if somebody else can see what you can't see, receive the information, because I stopped, I listened, I'm like, oh, they're right. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. And then I saw an exercise recently where if you clasp your hands behind your shoulders, it helps unhunch your shoulders. So that just being present to listen and being able to receive someone else's feedback. I was on the phone, so embarrassed. I was on the phone talking to my mother, and she thought, it hurts my heart that she said this, but she asked me if I was on drugs. No, why did you say that? But I was so hyped and excited, or just dealing with an urgent situation, that I talked really, 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 really fast. And she associated that with someone taking drugs.
Was? Oh
And
my
I do,
God.
but because somebody points it out, I'm able to pick up on it, and I get it when they say, my son told me I sound like I'm talking Japanese. I hope that's okay to say. I hope that's not a politically incorrect thing to say, but it was just trying to let me know that I sounded like I was speaking a different language and I'm going fast. So we have to be present to, what's going on. But that's one of my things that's on my little list as I assess myself, about being calm, as well as, not being in a rush, especially to communicate with people, because it's already more difficult enough to talk to someone and say slowly what's coming out of your mouth, and them to misinterpret, reinterpret, or not even hear the words coming out of your mouth. So those of you who are able to prioritize, if there's some things that you might need a little more time, maybe spend some more time on it later, that's all good. So the ones that you guys said are your priorities, I'm going to ask another question. You don't have to answer out loud, but if you do want to share, that's cool for school. The one out loud that you're able to share, if you're comfortable with it, is if you were to look at your planner right now, the things that are your priorities, are they in your planner? Are they part of your life today? All of them, some of them, or one of them? Danny, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that's my task to do today. I haven't, no, I don't have any of them in there.
Okay, perfect. And that's where I'm going with this conversation about empowering and empowerment for 2020, because there's still time this year to write some things, even though we couldn't control COVID, we couldn't control what happened economically, we couldn't control, but what if we were to put together a plan to be ready for anything that happens? I mean, remember, well, you couldn't see the grids that I had, but the things that have impacted our nation, impacted our family, impacted lives of people that we love over the years, other pandemics and other economic ups and downs and flows, ebbs and flows. If you put yourself in a situation where you could be ready for anything, or this kind of, because it's happening to us now, this might have been how parents and grandparents may have felt when the Depression hit, or in 2008 when that hit. Was someone going to say something? I hear a voice. No? Okay. So what I'm going to suggest is, if it's not already in your planner, to fold those priorities into your planner. And that's what I wanted to speak with you about it in terms of tackling 2020 and what's going on now. Because there's only 40 some days left in this year. So if there's anything in those priorities that can be managed or handled in 2020, are in your planner, and what needs to happen for you to have the success. A lot of times when I do, there's another training that I do, and many times people will like sit back and see, oh wow, I said I wanted to spend more time with the family, but what am I doing in my life to make that happen? Whether it's coming off the clock, especially since we're working from home, whether it's off the clock, a little bit early, or whether it's not going out with the girls, even though now it's tough to go out with the girls, but you could go out with the girls on Zoom. Hey now. But it's doing something less so that you could have more of it what you say you want to have. Is there anyone who's open to sharing what they would like to have more of, or something from their list that they're being intentional about for 20 or 2021?
I'll go.
Okay.
So for me, I think my biggest bullet in my foot is everything's going along great, and then I almost self-sabotage my success sometimes. So I'm trying to figure out why and what and where, so that I can deserve the success and move forward to the place that I'm meant to be.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. And that you're aware and you're participating in your own rescue, as Mr. Les Brown would say, is extraordinary. So that's what I want to encourage today, is that we participate. Those things we've made that list about, how serious are you about having those things come to fruition? And my last point as it relates to this particular exercise is, in the next 48 days for the end of the year, and maybe taking it as far as 60 or 90 days, looking at those things on that list, dating it today, looking at those things on that list and seeing where you are with those things. I recall hearing more than once about someone who said they wanted something. I'm trying to remember, it's escaping me. Said they wanted something. And they were told, you know what, if you do X, Y, Z for the next 10 years, you'll have it. And someone else came along and said, why wait 10 years? If you start doing it now, you might have it sooner than that. And I related to that conversation because anybody been told in real estate to have a starter house? Are you guys familiar with that? Nobody's ever heard that before but me?
I've heard that.
Part of a starter house? Yeah. So, and I listened to that because the person saying that information said I had to crawl before I walk. And that might be true, but who said that you couldn't go ahead and buy or create or build or whatever your dream house first? Sometimes we listen to the things that someone instilled into us without questioning it, and then embrace it and keep going along. So that conversation kind of passed me like, no. And I was a realtor. I said, you know, if I use the language they used initially, starter house, and we just want something to start with. That's about affordability. If you can afford your dream house, you don't have to go through that extra step of doing a starter house, and then an intermediate, and then a big one. Especially in 2020, with the interest rates being what they are, et cetera. The only challenge now is how COVID has impacted our economics. So, you know, the start conversation went out the door for me when if you can afford it and you're not what they call house poor, then you're back on track. So this exercise was designed to help you take this information and collaborate and lay it within your planner and really put together a game plan that allows you to live what you say you want to have on purpose, intentionally, and have the results that you say you want to have in the time frame that you're set up for yourself. And so with regard to the choosers that I talked about initially, you know, I had a picture, if you can envision this, of four birds that were on a branch. Sometimes they're on a wire, but there's four birds. And the birds were having in bird talk, you know, a conversation. And one of them said that they were going to go down to Florida. Well, when I looked again, there still were four birds on the wire. They chose something, they made a decision, but he never left to go to Florida. Is that you? Are you saying here's this list of stuff I want to do, I say I want to have in my life, but you chose it, but what's happening with it? What needs to happen with it are baby steps, bite-sized steps. How do you eat an elephant?
A bite at a time.
There you go, Miss Deborah. One bite at a time. So get after the goals that you say you want to have and really plot them in your life, in a planner or a calendar, or, you know, sometimes we have 3 and 4 of them because we have family or we have school or work, a work calendar. And then there's that, you know, centralized calendar. So put whatever it is that you wrote on those lists in your planner. And then there's the doer. So there was another picture you guys didn't see. And instead of 4, there were 3 birds on the wire. Because even though they all talked about making a decision to go to Florida, only one of them actually got off the wire and went to Florida. So hopefully you'll have some praise reports to share later on down the road. Because the third slide, winners are both. Winners are choosers and winners are doers. And each and every one of you are winners in your own way, in your own right. You know, there's a graphic that I didn't show just yet, and because of that challenge. Anybody ever hear the story about the water bearer? So the water bearer, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Oh my gosh, when I found out about the water bear, I felt like, is this from another planet? It's amazing.
It is. So let me share it with the other ladies. So it ties into what we're talking about, and I'll give you the as abbreviated version as I can. So there was a water bearer, and they had 2 large pots. And in those days, they carried the pots on a stick on their shoulders. So if you can imagine 2 buckets, one on each side, kind of balancing you. Now, one of the pots had a crack in it. And the other pot, it was perfect. No cracks, no water leaking. And that the perfect one delivered a full potion of water at the time. And they had a long walk from the stream back to the master's place. So the cracked pot always arrived half full, and the other one was always full. So this went on for a couple of years, and the bearer, who was delivering only 1.5 pots of water to his master's house, you know, he wasn't fazed by it. But the perfect pot, you know, it had a tude, you know, it had a wrong kind of tude. It was proud of what it did. It was proud of its accomplishments. Poor the cracked pot, you know, it was a little bit ashamed of its imperfections, and it was a little bit miserable because, you know, it only had half of what it was made for. So after a couple of years, the crackpot perceived in their own mind that, you know, they were a failure. They perceived that, you know, I'm not doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you. So the crackpot apologized to the water bearer. And he said, I've been able for these past 2 years to only deliver half of what's in me, half of what I'm able to deliver. And because of the leak that's in me, on the way back to the house, I lose what I have to give to you. And because of my flaws, you have to do extra work because I'm not, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You don't get full value from me. Well, the water bearer felt really sorry for the old crackpot. And in his compassion, he said, as we return to the master's house, I want you to notice something. So along the path, the old crackpot took notice of the sun. It was warming some wildflowers. It saw some beautiful violets and roses all along the trail, but at the end of the trail, it still felt bad. The pot still felt bad because it continued to leak out half its load. And the bear said to the pot, well, did you notice there were flowers only on your side of the path? And
Oh,
that's because I always knew about your flaw and I took advantage of it. I planted the flower seeds on your sides of the path, and every day when we walk back and forth from that stream, for 2 years, I've been able to pick these beautiful flowers and decorate my master's table. So without you being just the way you already are, he would not have this beauty, this grace in his house. So I share that story and it touches my heart and perhaps Miss Deborah's heart because we're our worst critics. We have excellence in us. We're awesome and we're powerful. We know it sometimes under these circumstances. We flaunt it sometimes under those circumstances. But whatever it is that you're doing, keep doing you and keep growing because somebody sees something in you that you may not see in yourself and it's blessing them. I'm reminded of a young lady. I used to do some presentations, and years later, she excelled, and she said, I was watching you, and you wore a suit, so I wore a suit. I'm like, really? And then I did my presentations a certain way, and she said, I went out and I bought those same things so I could do presentations just like you. And I'm like, wow, just no idea who's watching you. And I might think that I'm making a mistake or whatever, but somebody else sees it as grace or sees it as something of value to them. So I just wanted to share that story to remind you that none of us are perfect. And I, by the way, am a recovering perfectionist, as you guys witnessed earlier as we got started. And I'm still going to figure out what I need to do about the Zoom and sharing screens, etc. So I apologize again. But just, you might call it a flaw, but it may not be to someone else. So just be the best that you can. And you know what? As you assess going into 2021 and the end of this year, and you put those priorities in your planner, and you what we call inspect what you expect. What are your expectations? I'm giving this little fun thing in my mind. It's fun to help you equip and empower your expectations. I said this years ago at one of the events that we had on Whittier in answering someone's questions, and that was that your expectations and faith play an important part of where it is that we're going here in 2020, the rest of 2020 and 2021. And so if you have an expectation, let's say like the water bearer, you planted a seed. Those seeds are on that piece of paper that you put those priorities on. You plant that seed. Now, if you plant that seed, you have faith in that the seed's going to grow. But if you plant that seed and you have an expectation, let's say you planted a tomato seed. Now, you're not going to expect it to grow the next day. It's going to need time, nourishment. It's going to need the right sunshine and weather and water and nutrients and all those things. But also, maybe it didn't, come out the way you thought, but you didn't plant. Sometimes they plant something and they're expecting oranges, but they planted tomatoes. Check and take a look at what it is that you are believing for. And then the actions that it takes to get there are the things that you nurture to have that happen. But if you do get an orange when you planted a tomato seed, it's like inspect what you expect. What changed here? Did I pick up the package of orange seed trees by accident? Or is there something else, something, it got ripped away in the dirt and somebody put something else there instead? So I'm asking you to inspect what you expect, to empower the expectations that you have and to equip the expectations that you have going into 2020, and we're finishing out. We can still finish out the remaining 48 days of this year strong. We really can do that. So we just have a couple minutes left, and I know I've been sharing without you all seeing the slides, but I wanted to find out if there's any questions, and you guys have been good about asking as we go along, or something someone else had on their heart that I'm trying to stir up the gift that's already in you, so that you're on your way. And just by even being here for the personal development, to get more, to grow, that's the nutrition and nurturing that you're giving permission to yourself to win big. So not only are you choosers, you chose to be here, not only are you doers, you took action to be here and you're here, but you're also winners.
Terry, it looks like Sana may have a question.
Hey there, Miss Anna. Can she unmute, or do I need to do anything?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for everything you shared with us. I heard someone saying that about self-sabotage, and I am the queen of that. Sorry, no one can take that from me. Along with other things, it's very frustrating sometimes when I apologize, but I'm going to use your experience today, because I had this experience. I'm teaching English as a second language for my church. And every time I'm on a Zoom, I have everything prepared and I have it lined up. And I even have like an experiment, like a 5-minute Zoom call with someone to make sure that things are working.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute I start, everything goes exactly as you experienced today. It seems like you already had everything prepared.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of frustrates me a lot. And just, I always say that, I just keep going. But in the same time, why does it always happen like that? It's almost always like that.
Okay. So Miss Anna, I want to share with you a couple things, 2 things. One, the expectation. If anywhere in your brain you're expecting for it to go like that again, stop it. If you said, it's going to be like it was the last time or whatever, if you are doing that energy, then stop it. Have you ever thought about somebody and they shut up? I was just thinking about you.
Yes.
That's the same thing. That's the same thing.
The
other thing that's really, really, really important is Zoom is a new animal, is a new energy, is a new device. And trust me, the best of the best have these little glitches with Zoom, and repetition is the mother of learning. I haven't done this. I've done it, but I don't know what happened. I haven't done it in I can't remember what the slides are in. They might be PDFs, but I don't remember. But anyway, I can't answer it for you, but I can tell you that in another time, oh my goodness, if I made a mistake in front of other people, do you know I would have crawled up? When I first got into radio, and when it was one of my first big jobs, I got on the air and I couldn't believe what was happening. Every time I was reading the news story or whatever, I kept stumbling over my words and I was getting more and more embarrassed, et cetera, et cetera. Stuff I'd done for a long time. But what was going on was in my brain. I didn't know it at the time, but it was something that I was, as you said, self-sabotaging. But what I did was I took the bull by the horns and got better. Became the best of the best, and I was self-conscious. I did the same thing in TV, a TV class that I had, where the camera on me, then somebody who can talk is to talk behind the scenes. I had issues. So again, for me, I can relate to what you're talking about, but at the same time, Zoom is a new animal to embrace. There's another one the other day. I couldn't get on it, so I had to get on it by telephone. I think Microsoft put one out, and it wouldn't load on my tablet or whatever. It wouldn't load until. So we just have to be ready to be shapeshifters. Anybody know? Is it Star Trek? One of those things where they have shapeshifters, and you just become what it is you need to become. And it's okay. We make Mr. John C. Max calls it failing forward. Is that cool, Miss Hannah?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple quick things. I would like to connect on LinkedIn with everyone if they're interested. And I wanted to ask Bridget and yourself if it's okay to have a one-on-one with you, maybe to go through specific things that we're not share, more private things.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine. My slide did have my information. I'll put it on here. in the chat box. Oops. Anyone else have any questions? Miss Bridget, did you want to respond to her?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sonic, you didn't hear me. No, we can connect, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Now, does this go over the internet too?
Yes, but we can stop right here. I
Okay,
can
no,
stop the
okay. Well, I was
sharing.
going to put it in the chat.
Oh, no, I mean, I can stop the live streaming.
Okay. That was going to be on the slide, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how crazy these are. I don't know. Let's see. So,
You're good to go.
oh, my mind. People used to embrace something called multitasking. They lied. That is not. Our brains aren't even wired for very much multitasking. Even though we get to a point where we can do things, if that brain tract is okay with it, that's fine. But when it's something that competes with it, that's when you get in trouble. So I put this. Miss Sun, I put my email in.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. No worries. Any feedback from anyone else or any questions? Is this helpful to anyone besides Miss Sana?
This is very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome, Miss Jasmine.
Thank you
I
very
took
much.
a screenshot of it because I'm not sure if it's going to stay after we end the conversation.
Oh, okay. You got it?
Thank you.
And you're comfortable with us reaching out through email?
Yes, yes. I will go ahead. I'll put my phone number in. Either or is fine. I'm a little slower on email sometimes. 614.